You built it from scratch. You researched it for weeks. You read the earnings reports. You watched the CEO interviews. You stayed up late running the numbers. And then you bought it. And now it's down 40%. Your friends are telling you to sell. The charts are screaming sell. Every rational part of your brain knows you should sell. But you won't. Why? It's not because you're stupid. It's not because you're stubborn. It's because of something called the IKEA effect. And once you understand it, you'll never look at your portfolio the same way again. Welcome back. Today, we're going deep into behavioral finance. Specifically, the hidden psychological forces that make even smart investors hold losing positions far too long. We're going to cover three things. First, what the IKEA effect actually is and the original research behind it. Second, exactly how it shows up in investing, with real examples. And third, a practical framework for making cleaner, more rational sell decisions. Let's get into it. In 2011, three behavioral economists, Michael Norton, Daniel Moshon, and Dan Ariely, published a now famous study. They gave participants IKEA boxes to assemble. Simple stuff. Shelves, storage boxes. Then they asked, how much would you pay for this box you just built? And they asked a separate group, how much would you pay for an identical, professionally built box? The result was striking. People valued their own assembled boxes significantly higher, even though the boxes were objectively identical, even though the professionally built one was arguably better. They called this the IKEA effect, the tendency to overvalue things we had a hand in creating. And here's the key word, creating. It doesn't matter if the end result is good or bad. The act of effort alone inflates perceived value. Norton and Ariely ran follow-up experiments with origami. People folded paper cranes, badly by their own admission, and still valued them nearly as highly as expert-made cranes. When they were reminded that their cranes were objectively worse, the overvaluation dropped, but it never fully disappeared. Labor creates love. That's the IKEA effect in one sentence. Now, take that psychology and put it inside a brokerage account. Scenario 1. The stock you discovered yourself. You didn't buy this stock because your friend told you about it. You didn't see it in a newsletter. You found it. You dug through SEC filings. You built a DCF model. You made a thesis. That thesis is now yours. You created it. And the IKEA effect kicks in immediately. You are now emotionally attached not just to the stock, but to your own analysis. When the stock drops, you don't see a failed investment. You see an attack on your intelligence, on your work, on your judgment. So instead of selling, you double down. You find new reasons to stay. You selectively read news that confirms your thesis and dismiss everything that doesn't. This is called confirmation bias, and the IKEA effect turbocharged it. Scenario 2. The stock you held through a big gain. You bought Tesla at $200. You watched it go to $800. You told people about it. Your identity became intertwined with being a Tesla investor. Now it's at $400 and falling. Rationally, you should evaluate. Is this company worth holding at $400? Fresh analysis, clean slate. But you can't think fresh because you built this position. You lived through the $800 high. Selling now feels like erasing that story. It feels like admitting it wasn't real. So you hold, and hold, and hold. Scenario 3. The stock that was a gift or inheritance. You didn't even research this one. But you've held it for years. You've watched it through earnings. You've explained it to your family. You've owned it, mentally, emotionally. Effort doesn't have to be upfront. It accumulates over time. The longer you hold something, the more you feel you've built a relationship with it, and the harder it becomes to walk away. Here's a real-world example. During the dot-com crash of 2000 to 2001, retail investors held companies like Pets.com and Webvan far past any rational exit point. Many had done their own research in the boom. They'd gotten in early, told their friends, watched it rise. The IKEA effect locked them in, and they rode those stocks to zero. The same pattern repeated in 2008 with homeowners. People who built equity in their homes, who renovated, decorated, landscaped, held on long after the market turned. Because it wasn't just a house. It was something they'd created. And it repeated again in 2021 with meme stocks, AMC GameStop. People who had fought to hold those stocks against short sellers, against the media, against institutional investors, couldn't sell even when the opportunity was clearly there. Because selling meant abandoning the thing they'd built, the community, the identity, the story. Okay, so how do you fight a bias that's literally wired into your brain? You can't eliminate it, but you can build systems that work around it. Strategy 1. The pre-mortem. Before you buy any position, write down exactly what would have to happen for you to sell it. Not vague stuff like, if the fundamentals deteriorate. Specific triggers. I will sell if revenue growth drops below 15% for 2 consecutive quarters. I will sell if the stock falls more than 25% from my entry without a clear catalyst. I will sell if the original thesis, X acquiring Y, doesn't happen within 18 months. Write it down, date it, sign it if you have to. When you're in the middle of a loss, your brain will rewrite history. Pre-mortems prevent that. The rules were set when you were rational. Honor them. Strategy 2. The stranger test. This one is simple and devastating. When you're evaluating whether to hold or sell a position, ask yourself, if a stranger came to me today with this exact stock, at this exact price, with this exact news, would I tell them to buy it? If the answer is no, you have your answer. The stranger test strips away everything you built. All the history, all the effort, all the identity. It forces you to evaluate the asset on its own merits, not on your relationship with it. Strategy 3. Separate the thesis from the stock. Your thesis was not wrong because the stock went down, and your thesis was not right because the stock went up. These are different things. Train yourself to evaluate your thesis independently of price action. Ask, is the original reason I bought this still true? If yes, hold and be honest about it. If no, the IKEA effect is the only thing keeping you in. And that's not a reason. Strategy 4. Position sizing discipline. The IKEA effect is strongest in positions that represent a large portion of your portfolio. The bigger the position, the more emotionally significant it becomes, the harder it is to exit rationally. Keep individual positions within a range you can lose without it becoming identity-level painful. When a position grows beyond that range, trim it, not because the thesis changed, but because concentration breeds attachment. Strategy 5. Write a sell journal, not just a buy journal. Most investors journal their buy decisions. Almost nobody journals their sell decisions. Start writing down why you sold every position, what triggered it, how you felt, what happened afterward. Over time, this creates a feedback loop that makes you better at selling, which is the hardest skill in investing and the one almost nobody talks about. The IKEA effect is not a flaw. It's a feature of being human. It makes us care about what we create. It makes us persistent. It makes us committed. But the market doesn't care about your effort. It doesn't reward you for the hours you spent researching. It doesn't give you credit for how long you've held. It doesn't care about your story. The investors who beat the market over long periods are not the ones who pick the best stocks. They're the ones who manage their psychology the best. And the first step to that is knowing where your blind spots are. Now you know one of them. If this video was useful, consider subscribing. We go this deep every week. And drop in the comments. Have you ever held a losing stock way too long? What finally made you sell? See you in the next one.